Hi, welcome to the Shetland Times podcast. I'm your host, Thor Holt, and today we're speaking with the general team manager of the Shetland Island Games team, Bob Kerr. Island Games coverage by the Shetland Times is sponsored by Harper McLeod, RSM, Shetland Power Tools, and TL Dallas. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Bob Kerr. What took you to Shetland in the first place?
Well, the reason I got involved in the games was I came here as sports development officer in 1999. I was actually living in Devon at the time and looking for a job back in Scotland. I'd been studying down in Exeter and working down in Exeter, and as I say, looking to get back to Scotland. I applied for a few jobs and found myself applying for a job in Shetland. And the thing I remember most was that Shetland had, there was three things that struck me. One was that Shetland had always donated the most for children in need in Scotland. And I don't know why. Children in Need's been a long-running charity, but somewhere at the back of my mind, Shetland had always given the most per head of population, which I thought was kind of quite a memorable statistic and a positive statistic for the community. The other thing was that they really liked their sport, that they had lots of leisure centres, and I thought if I was doing sport there, that'd be a great place to end up. And the other thing was just that it was in the middle of the North Sea, and I don't know why that when I was at school and latterly university, I was trying to work out my sort of career path, and I did a degree in sport at Jordan Hill College in Glasgow, community sport in fact, and I quite fancied being a PE teacher in Isle of Skye. I don't know why. I'd been to a few archery competitions at Skye as it happened, and I thought Skye would be a great place to go. I like the outdoors, and they have an archery competition. Maybe I could do PE or sport in Skye. And I remember meeting the PE teacher from Portree High School a few years after I became sports development officer in Shetland. We got on really well, and we had a good chat over a meal one time. We were at an event on the mainland, and he was really into mountain biking. And I thought, yeah, that's quite a cool job as well. PE teacher in Skye, there's plenty of places for mountain biking. And I was sports development officer in Shetland, and I absolutely very happy with the decision that I made and the experiences I've had in Shetland. And one of the first of which was going to Gotland in 1999. That was my first games. It was up to that point, it was the most successful games that Gotland in '99 was the most successful game Shetland had in the games, which had been running since 1985. So we got a lot more medals than people had maybe expected. And when we came back from Gotland in July 1999, there was some discussions thereafter about Shetland possibly hosting the tall ships race, which it did in 2001, I think. No, it would have been... let me get this right. We came back from Gotland in July 1999 with a lot of medals, and Shetland was hosting the tall ships race, the Cutty Sark tall ships race in Lerwick. We were one of the host ports in August 1999, and it was as a result of those two things, the medal success in Gotland and the success, undoubtedly, of hosting a major event like the tall ships race here in Lerwick, and also in Baltsound in Unst as well. I think they were one of the guest ports. The decision and discussions then followed about hosting the Island Games here in Shetland in 2005. And that's what happened. And it was an unprecedented opportunity as a young graduate sports development officer to be involved in planning that massive sport event, which was the Games here in 2005, the biggest event that Shetland's ever hosted. A week-long sports event with 14 sports. And me and many other people were all in the thick of it and planning it and ultimately delivering it in July 2005. I think it was the 9th to the 15th of July. And people still talk about it now as a successful community event with lots of great stories of islanders all meeting up and playing sport in another island. And Shetland had never been a host island before.
So can I just check in with you then, Bob? This year it's back in Gotland, and you mentioned the big medal haul in '99. What are the chances for a big medal haul for Shetland this year?
Yeah, the games has evolved, and our talents and skills of the team and competitors have all evolved over the years. The games, I suppose, for any competing island, the games would fluctuate in terms of the sports that are on offer in the host island, and obviously then the competitors that are able to take part. And for some sports in some islands, their sport might not be in, for example, and that would limit their chance to get a medal and so on. Every games is different. I think the last few games we've got better as a team. Our most successful performance was in Jersey in 2015, just 2 years ago. That we had, I think from memory, 46 medals, which was our most successful games off island. Let me just check that. Actually, I should clarify that for you before I start making statements. Luke, sorry. Sorry. Let me just Jersey 2015. 40. Yes. We got Jersey 2015 was our most successful games off island with 23 medals in the medal table. It was a fantastic result for us. We had a big team, around 140, I think, and we've got about 130 going to Scotland this year. Different sports, some different competitors, some more experienced, some younger, and for many this will be the first competition at the Games. We've got 4 young gymnasts who have never competed at a full Games event before, and it's just a fantastic story that we had gymnastics involved in 2005 when Shetland hosted the Games here, and our gymnasts weren't present. We didn't have a gymnastics club at the time, and so gymnastics was the only sport where Shetland wasn't represented. And this time now in Gotland, 12 years later, through the hard work of the gymnastics coaches in the club, then we've got 4 young gymnasts going to Gotland and going to the Games as gymnasts for the first time. A fantastic story. And for me, yes, medals are important. Yes, the medal table is important, but the medal table will always fluctuate because of the choice of sports that are on offer in the host island, and also the competitors that will take part in the Games. So
you're not going to give me a firm commitment. It's a bit like trying to call a general election. You're not going to give me a commitment to the number of medals.
Yeah. If we rerun this again, I'll try and be more concise. The medals are always really hard to predict. Every Games is different. There's different sports on offer, different competitors taking part. Jersey in 2015 was our most successful Games off island. We had 23 medals. We were 10th overall in the medal table. We were really happy with that. We had a team of around 140. We've got a team of around 130 or just less going to Scotland this year. I'd love to say we'd get the same or better medals that we would in Jersey. There are different sports involved and some different competitors. And I should mention Shetland's most successful medalist in recent years has been Andrea Strachan, a swimmer who's taken many gold medals and other medals in the swimming pool. And Andrea retired from swimming 2 years ago, I think at the age of 23 from memory. But Andrea won't be with us in Scotland. Our swimmers are incredibly committed. They train hard. They are off island regularly at competitions throughout Scotland and further afield. I have my fingers and toes crossed for them in the swimming pool. We'll wait and see how the competition works out for them. I think the swimming is going to be a tricky one. The competition's slightly different in Scotland this year with swimming, and I think it's fair to say there's been some disappointment as well, because the pool in Visby in Scotland is just 5 lanes. Instead of the usual 6 or sometimes 8 lanes, so it means the structure of the competition is slightly different, and the space around the pool physically for supporters and competitors and officials is very limited as well, and that might have a bearing on things as well. We'll have to see how it works out. But every Games is different, and there are some medals that appear, with all due respect to competitors involved, they maybe don't expect to get a medal, and it throws something up for them. We had a fantastic story in Jersey 2 years ago of the Gordon Keith, the badminton pair, and Gordon Keith and his daughter Shona Keith, Mackay, she's married now. They played in the mixed doubles competition and got through to the final and got silver. Now, the standard of badminton at the Games is incredibly high, and in Jersey particularly, the standard of badminton is incredibly high. They've been one of the teams to watch in any badminton event, and Gordon and his daughter Shona got a silver medal in the mixed doubles, and they were absolutely delighted and elated with that. It was a fantastic story of a father and daughter pairing that absolutely paid off. Things like that, are fantastic stories and not always easy to predict.
So superb. I love that you. Sorry to interrupt you there, Bob, but you mentioned something about the conditions. I want to go back to that. You talked about conditions in the pool, and that was like a logistical thing where they just have a smaller pool. But the other thing I was wondering about is climate. Like, coming from Shetland myself, I know that we're not that used to warm weather. So when you're competing with someone like Jersey or Gotland, I'm guessing it'll be a fair bit warmer in the summer than it is in Shetland. Is that an issue, or do they rise to that challenge, no bother, the athletes?
It is an issue, absolutely. In Jersey, oddly enough, the badminton court, it was a badminton hall actually, I think four or five courts in it. The badminton hall was a good example. Jersey had an unexpected heat wave, typically, for the week that we were there. It touched, I think, 30-something on Tuesday of the Games week, and the badminton guys are in a large box for the week with no air conditioning, and they can't just throw the doors open and let the wind blow through on a badminton court. Mm-hmm. So they were in an oven for the week and they played some superb badminton despite the conditions, and they just had to keep taking fluids as often as they could. But every sport is different. I think the swimmers always find it hot and humid in the swimming pool. That's the nature of swimming. But spare a thought for some of the guys that are outdoors for the whole day. The archers will be outside for 8 hours a day. So will the golfers. The athletes will be running, a half marathon or a 10K event in whatever conditions are there. The Baltic Islands, they have very cold winters and they're very warm summers. And Gotland is a beautiful island. It's where the Swedes and other Scandinavians, I'm sure, all go for a summer break. And I would expect temperatures in Scotland to be in the 20s, but comfortable, I hope. It's not like some of the previous games, perhaps it's not like Rhodes in 2007, where we had a very hot, dry, and predictably, difficult week for all the competitors. I think Gotland do have temperatures that fluctuate in the summer, but we will arrive a few days early before the competition starts and give people a chance to acclimatise. But I don't think the temperatures will be as uncomfortable as they might be in some other islands. Mm-hmm. The most difficult island I remember actually was in Bermuda in 2013. The climate in Bermuda is very hot and very sticky. So it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit and 80% humidity is the way they describe it. And that's a fairly typical sort of season in Bermuda. And I remember stepping out of an air-conditioned hotel where the room was nice and cool, stepping outside the door to take in the view. And as I stepped outside with my camera, then my lens fogged up with the mist because of the humidity in the air. And that's something that anybody who travels to Bermuda for a short period will find they need a few days to acclimatise to that, especially if you're going to be doing a sports competition. I don't think we'll have that same particular issue with Scotland. We're on the same latitude, physically, but they have a pleasantly warm summer. I don't think it'll be as warm as some of the other islands could be.
Yeah, that's good. And does anything ever get lost? If you're taking 129 people taking part in 11 or 12 sports and all the gear, does anything ever get left in an airport, or is there any logistical hassles with this kind of thing?
We've been discussing this plan to travel to Gotland for over 12 months now. There's a team of around 130 of us travelling on a charter flight from Aberdeen to Gotland, and we're taking a direct flight because the alternative would be to take a minimum of 3 scheduled flights from the research that we've done. There are no direct flights between Aberdeen and Stockholm, which is the main connecting airport for Gotland. So you would have to fly to somewhere in Europe or one of the Nordic countries and then connect with Stockholm and then connect with Visby. And when you've got a large team then, and all the sports equipment that goes with us, then it's just easier if we can keep the connections as short as possible. And a lot less risk, obviously, because if one of the scheduled flights that we'd been on was delayed, or had any technical problems, then we'd be really stuck with the following flights we'd have to take. So we think a charter flight is the best option. It's not the cheapest option, but it's the most straightforward, and it's the one. We've done it previously. We took it for Åland in 2009, which is just a neighbour of Gotland, just a little bit further north in the Baltic. And we flew direct from Aberdeen to Åland in 2 hours, and it was very simple and very straightforward. And I think maybe people don't appreciate that simple step. When it works well, you don't give it a second thought. But if there's a problem, because you're taking scheduled flights or you take an alternative route and there's a problem, then it becomes a far greater issue to deal with, because you've got a large group of people that you're trying to get from A to B to C or D perhaps, and there's no easy remedy for a large group if you're travelling. We've done an exercise to map out all our equipment. We've got over about 11 to 1,200 kilograms of sports equipment, including 20 bikes, a dozen archery bags, there's 5 golf bags, there's all our medical kit, there'll be badminton rackets, there'll be everything, athletics kit, there'll be things that all the sports will need. The biggest items being the cycles for cycling and triathlon, and we've, as I say, tried to map that out and have that discussion with the charter airline to make sure it can physically fit, not just in terms of weight, but also in terms of volume in the hold. And that's taken a little bit of planning and work by all the sports, which is what we do in the month leading up to the games.
So who you talk about the work in the month leading up to the games, but who does all that planning and logistics and makes the whole thing happen? Is it yourself and Karen Woods, or is there more to the team that makes it all happen?
Each island has a member association that is affiliated to the International Island Games Association, and Shetland Island Games Association is the member association for Shetland, and Karen is our chair and I'm the secretary, and each of our sports is represented on that committee, and we currently have 12 sports represented on the committee, and the representatives from each of the sports bring to the committee meetings their own issues for their own sports and their own needs, and we discuss as a committee how to plan our travel and accommodation and the logistics and coordinate entries and tracksuits and all the planning that needs to go into the games.
Sounds like a full-time job to me. How can Shetlanders listening support the teams going out? Is there somewhere online they can go, a resource, or is there any way they can watch things live? How does that all work?
Yeah, the rise of social media in recent years has made a huge impact on how people can connect with the games in Shetland. The Shetland Times, of course, will have journalists there. Radio Shetland will be broadcasting live every night during the games week. Shetland Island Games Association have a Facebook page as well. There will be lots of content coming from Gotland this summer. The Gotland Organising Committee, the host island, will be putting out information as well. There's lots of ways of connecting with the games. And the last time I was in Gotland in 1999, 18 years ago, I remember the press centre was probably a very different place from what I think it'll be this time, because back then everything was photocopied pages of results in a pigeonhole that you would collect at the end of each day. Somebody had diligently prepared them, and you would take out your sheets and see how your team was doing in the medal table. And things are so much different now. There'll be mobile networks in Galton. There'll be Wi-Fi at the majority of the venues. So I would expect there'll be streaming coverage. There'll be live content. There'll be images and audio clips. And it just, for all the islands, there are 24 islands competing in the NatWest Island Games. And obviously the best way to connect is through online mediums. There's over 1 million people live in all the islands, and they will all have their own media, taking a huge amount of interest in their team and their sport, taking part of the games.
Do you personally indulge in the social media? Do you use Periscope, Twitter, etc.? Like, can people follow you and your reports on the games, or are you too busy for that malarkey?
It's always been a challenge. Over the years, I've written and contributed some pieces for the Shetland Times and other local outlets. The challenge of trying to manage the team that myself and Cam will be doing, looking after any issues that crop up during the week and communicating with all our team means we're on the go all the time, and we'll do our best to keep up with social media during the week of the games. I would expect some of our competitors to be sharing content as well. So where they can do that, then we'll be sharing that as well. But SIGA has a Twitter account at Team Shetland, and we also have a Facebook page as well. So we'll be putting some content there, and we'll be sharing content from Shetland Times as well as best we can during the week. It's a mad week. It's non-stop from day one. The opening ceremony is on Saturday, the 24th of June, and from then, when all the teams will be there and the opening ceremony gets underway, the first competitions will be on Sunday. It is just a non-stop week. I expect to be living in my tracksuit more or less for 5 or 6 days. There's not much time to get a break or to take some time out during the week. Just when you think you've got some time out, there'll be something will crop up and get in the way. The reason that we're there is to communicate with the team, to find out how competitors are getting on, to resolve any issues that might crop up around transport, injuries, any logistics, either at our accommodation or at the sports venues. There's a team, as I say, it's around 130 competitors and officials there, and they're a fantastic bunch. I would expect the week to go extremely well, but I know from past experience that there will be hiccups and problems for a small number of people, and that's what we're there to try and resolve as easily as possible, so that we all have a great week. And the main thing is we want our team to do well. We want the competitors to enjoy the experience, to get medals wherever they can. But the games experience is a memory for life. That's the tagline that Gotland are using this year, and it's one that could equally apply to any games. The people that you meet, the competition that you have, the experience of another island where they share the same values of island life and the same challenges of island life around maybe transport or perceptions of remoteness and so on. This is what connects people at the games. It's an event for islanders and people living on islands. Unlike any other sports event that exists, we often say it's the Island Olympics, and it is in many ways. The reason that the games came around in the first place in 1985, when it was first set up in Isle of Man, part of their year of sport, the reason for the games and the creation of the International Island Games Association was to provide an opportunity for sports competition for islands that are geographically disadvantaged in their ability to access regular competition. And when you look at the games and the islands that are involved, there's a great diversity of, if you consider St. Helena, a 5 days boat journey from South Africa, and their team left and have travelled to Gotland through Cape Town and Dubai and Stockholm and then eventually to Gotland. And that trip has taken over, I think, about 10 days for them to finally reach Scotland. There are other islands like the Isle of Wight, perhaps, in the south of England, are just a half-hour ferry journey to get to the south coast of England, and obviously, the bigger areas of population that are there and access to competition. Bermuda are 500 miles off the American coastline. The Falkland Islands are, I think it's 9 hours flight time back to UK via the Ascension Island. So the diversity of islands that are involved is incredible, and yet we all meet up and as friends and familiar faces and chat about our team and our sports and how things are going and some of the logistics that we've all faced to get there and bring the team together.
Sounds superb, Bob, and thank you for telling me about it. And I really appreciate it. It's something I must get myself along to in the future, I think. But thank you so much for your time and for coming on the Shetland Times podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm sure there's a place for a podcast at the game somewhere as well. Just as an aside, there's a fantastic diversity of competitors and populations at the games, and I know Adam Guest and Kevin Jones will be there from the Shetland Times, and I'm sure Adam will be trying to get some clips, not just from the Shetland team principally, but maybe from some other islands as well.
I was just thinking I'd be chasing Mr. Civico for a budget to fly me over there, but now you've just blown it by saying there'll be guys from the Shetland Times there already.
The next games, just so you're aware, you can plan ahead. The next games is in Gibraltar in 2019.
Oh, I'd love to go to Gibraltar.
Technically not an island.
Sold.
Technically not an island. I think we'd all recognise that. The principal access on and off Gibraltar is by sea and air, so effectively they are an island, and they've been enthusiastic games participants for many years. And then after Gibraltar in 2019, the next island to host the games will be Guernsey in 2021, and they have hosted the games previously, I think in the 1980s, possibly Guernsey, but they certainly hosted last in 2003.
And when's Shetland hosting again?
Well, that's an often asked question. When would Shetland host the games again? I would love to see the games here. I know how much work went into planning the games in 2005, so I'm not sure I'd relish the work involved. It was a fantastic week. I think the answer would have to be when political support and budget would allow.
I thought you were going to say when you retired.
Possibly, I might have some time to get involved. I think Shetland hosting the games again would be fantastic and would be hugely supported by the community. Those who remember 2005, it was a fantastic week, and those people that know that I'm still involved in the games, there's a few who have asked me that question as well. For lots of reasons, 2005 was the right time for Shetland to do it, and we benefited with some new facilities at the time, a new squash court, upgraded athletics track, some extensions and work on football pitches and so on. I'd love to see it back here again, but it would have to be when political support and finances allow.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks, Bob.
Okay, all right, thanks, Thor. We'll speak to you again.
Cheers. Hope you enjoyed that conversation with Bob Kerr of the Shetland Island Games Committee. Plenty of other podcasts we've already done you can find via the shetlandtimes.co.uk, and we'd love to hear your feedback on the show, and especially we'd love an iTunes review because it makes a huge difference to people who are considering having a listen. Thanks for listening today. I've been Thor Holt, host of the Shetland Times podcast. Please get in touch if you have suggestions for guests, people you'd like to hear us interview. See you next time.